Hello everyone and welcome to the super exciting video. This is my new bit of server kit that I'm going to unbox and show you guys. It's not directly related to servers, but it will be in my case and what I'm using it for. I paid quite a lot of money for this, but it's really going to be worth it in the long run. I've also got this little package that I'll be unboxing in the same video, which has massive relation to this, and I may even put some of it together with these screws that I bought ready for this project. But I won't be sort of setting it up and stuff in this video. Actually, I may be at the end, I don't really know, but I'm so excited to dig in. This is my solution to all of my storage needs, basically, or it will be eventually when I can properly get it set up, but all will be revealed, so let's dig in. This box is absolutely massive, but it is pretty lightweight, because as you guys can probably tell, this is a RAID enclosure. And it's not any RAID enclosure, it's a rack mount RAID enclosure, external RAID enclosure, so it uses FireWire, which is ideal when you're using Mac Minis as server machines. Not such a common task anymore, you know, FireWire and stuff. But yeah, so this is a rack mount RAID enclosure, and it's actually one that I've rarely heard of. Let's move all this off to the side. This is packaged very well. Yeah, this is the Studio Rack S4FR. This is a multi-interface RAID storage with RAID 5 data protection. And as you guys know, RAID 5 gives you 3 times the read speed. No write speed benefit, but you know, that's no big deal. I won't be using this as an active scratch disk or anything of that kind of nature, which is what it's designed for, actually. We'll talk about what it's designed for in a second. But of course, it gives you 3 times the read speed and 1 failsafe. So 1 disk can break and you will lose no data, which is awesome. So I'm really looking forward to having a RAID 5 setup. I think it's probably the best option for me at the moment. Here we have a UK kettle lead, standard. Nice that that's included. Down here we have some rack bolts and stuff. I do actually have some all black ones of these, but I won't be using them yet. These are also fairly unique because they're flathead ones, but it's nice that he included them. And he was nice enough to tell me that he didn't have the original hard drive screws, which is awesome. Now, like I said, I did pay quite a lot of money for this, but this should be with me for years, and it gives a lot of room for upgrades. Hang on a second. Because this is simply an enclosure, of course I can keep upgrading the drives. Now, I do have drives in the other box, but I don't have the drives that I'm going to be using permanently, if that makes any sense. I want to see if this setup works for me, and I want to see if it's quick enough with the Mac Minis and stuff. So I haven't splashed out on brand new drives yet. I've bought some second-hand drives, and hopefully I can repurpose them later on. But I think it's a wise decision, because it would have been an additional, you know, sort of maybe £400 or more to get the drive setup that I want, because ultimately I want at least 6 terabytes of storage in this thing, which would be great. So, ooh, it's a nice metal unit. Awesome. I've been very excited to take a look at this, guys. So here it is. I will lower the camera slightly so you guys can see. I will give you guys a closer look later on, but here it is. You can basically see it's a 1U, very small but very nice looking drive enclosure. Now let me see if I can figure out how these drive caddy things unlock. Awesome, guys, I figured it out. There is actually a little arrow. You just ping this back that way and then you pull, and these are the 4 drive cages in the front of the machine, which is awesome. So every drive cage has LED indicators above it for activity and whatnot, and there is also a little warning light here, which I believe is an overheating warning light. Now there's not a lot to see on the front, it just literally looks like a 4-bay drive interface. But if we take a look at the back, that's where stuff really gets exciting. So I know you can't see a lot, guys, but we'll be going over this much more in future videos. This is just a quick overview in the unboxing. We've got 2 very quiet cooling fans. They're meant to be very quiet anyway, I'll soon be the judge of that. We have the awesome array of ports. We've got a FireWire 400, which is really nice to see. You don't have to use an 800 to 400 jumper. It's a native FireWire 400 support, which is what I'll be using with my Mac Mini. Dual FireWire 800, USB and eSATA. There's also a little voltage selector switch up there that you may or may not be able to see, that red thing there. And coming over, you see one particular thing that I don't love about this, and that is the fact that the display, the navigation display, is on the back. So if you want to change settings and stuff, it's on the back. But this is literally just for setting up your initial raid and stuff, I believe. Once it's set up, it just sits here and you don't need to access the display. And also there is a lip in the casing, so these buttons won't accidentally be pressed very easily if you push it into other equipment or whatever. And next to the display is a power switch and a IEC input. So basically, as you guys can see, this is a massively glorified external hard drive enclosure. It's one new 19-inch rack mount, 4-drive, really nice, sleek bit of kit, and I think it's going to work well. So when I saw it, I had to snap it up, guys. Now, it may not seem awesome to you guys, but it really is to me, because normally, when you see a multi-drive external setup or whatever in a rack, it's exactly not that. It's not external. It's probably got a little system in it, a little mini ITX system. It's an actual server. This is not a server. This is an external drive enclosure that handles all of the RAID itself. So the RAID controller is in here. It puts the drives in RAID 5. It gives you a nice power supply. Everything is sorted. Nice LED indicators. You plug it into your Mac Mini via FireWire 400 and boom, I've got one volume, which is exactly what I want and very simple. I'm really looking forward to firing it up and seeing what it can do. Or basically, I know what it can do. It's seeing how well it does it, because I've got really good confidence. And also, it takes a lot of stress off of my Mac Mini because this has a built-in RAID controller. It's not using software RAID or anything pansy like that. This is the real deal right here. Now, as the name implies, Studio Rack or whatever it's called. Hang on a sec, where is it? It says it's called the, Studio Rack S4FR. It is basically originally designed to be connected to a mobile on-the-road system, I believe, as a very fast storage interface, storage solution then for, you know, location recording on location, or even studios, video editing work, audio work. It seems to be mainly aimed at audio stuff. Now, I don't think they make it anymore, and I did pay quite a bit for this, but this is such a rarity, a really nice bit of kit. And you may be thinking, well, Tom, your server shelf is not a 19-inch rack. It is not, but I have announced in a couple of previous videos that I will be going rack mount with my servers very soon, and getting everything racked up nicely with a UPS and getting everything in a proper cabinet with nice cooling, which is going to be really great. So, moving on to the next little bit of this unboxing. It is not too exciting. This was the big reveal, but something really cool is, like I told you guys, I haven't bought the drives yet, but what I have bought is a sort of substitute. So right here I've got a little box, and before anyone comments about anything that's in here, I'd just like to say a few things. I paid under £40, just under £40 for these 4 hard drives, and they are not amazing. They may die in the first 10 seconds of use, but instead of spending, you know, £400, it was easier spending £40 just to see if this was an ideal storage solution for me. Now, I think you guys will be pretty excited when I open this up, because it is pretty cool and it's in keep with the retro feel on the channel. It's not crazy retro, but it's not exactly modern. So in here we've got some, pretty weird packaging. Let's just slide these 4 guys out. Try not to get any of this weird stuff out. It looks like a cut up cushion or something. We do have an invoice in there, which I will keep separate. Okay, let's move that to one side. And here we have 4 hard disks, and you probably can't tell what they are yet, or you may be able to, I'm not too sure, but if I just move the camera down ever so slightly, we will get them unwrapped. Now, these haven't come in anti-static bags, but they have been wrapped nicely, so I do appreciate that. I'll unwrap one on camera, and then I'll do the rest off camera, because it's the same process 4 times. Now, these are, drum roll, these are some nice reliable drives that you don't see too often anymore. These are Western Digital Caviar SE 300GB SATA drives. Now, it's quite interesting because this enclosure is quite an old generation product. So this is the type of drive that people would have been putting into it. So I have 4 of these, all identical, all 300GB, all tested and working apparently. So stick those in this enclosure. That gives you 1.2 terabytes, but obviously factor in RAID 5, that gives me 900 gigabytes of storage to play with, just to test out RAID 5, test out my Mac Mini, test everything out to make sure everything is okay. I will not be putting crucial data on here for now, and I will be replacing these for either 4 2 terabyte or 4 3 terabyte in an ideal world Western Digital red drives, the NAS drives, but these are in here for now, and they will be in here for a good few months until I can justify spending that much on hard drives. But this will actually help me, in combination with a couple of other things that I'm doing, this will help me with my storage needs quite a lot, which is really cool. So I'll be sticking these in for now, seeing how it all goes. Of course, I'll keep you guys updated in future videos related to this, but I am really excited about using these 4 drives in this enclosure to see what happens. So there we have them, guys. 4 300 gigabyte Western Digital Caviar SE drives. SATA, of course, because this is a SATA piece of kit, and I think in this video, because it's been quite a short unboxing, because unboxings are generally short, I think the least I can do is get these all screwed in to the enclosure to see how it all looks. Very excited to do this. With quite an aerial angle, let's see if my camera stays up there, I am going to begin attaching the drive enclosures to the drives themselves, but I will change angle before we slot the drives into the front of this little machine, because that is definitely going to be one of the most entertaining parts. So these little screws, in case anyone's wondering, are countersunk hard drive screws which are designed for these type of drive sleds that get slotted into these systems. It's ideal if I pour them all out on the desk. I've got 16 of them, which is the exact number, and I believe they cost me about £2, which is great. So of course the drives go in here with the interface pointing inwards, and they get screwed on from the bottom. Now, because these are pre-countersunk, they these screws, they fit perfectly, as opposed to proper hard drive screws or normal hard drive screws then, which are quite bulgy. These become flush, at least they should. I thought they'd come a bit more flush than that, actually. They come flush to the bottom. Now I will actually test fit this one before I screw them all in, because I thought that was going to be a little more flush. Okay, a little bit of worry there, but I don't want to worry too soon. We will see what happens. These screws, I assumed they were going to be a bit flatter. They are advertised to work in products like this, so let's hope for the best. Screw in the 4th one. I guess I really only need to screw one in to test, but I might as well do a proper test. So I know it's probably going to be a little bit out of the frame when I slide this in, guys, but all I want to see is, does the hard disk slide in properly or not. So there's one drive attached, and it's actually not the most secure, so I'll have to take a look at that. Does it slide in? Interesting, guys, interesting, very interesting. It does not slide in, but do I have to force the screws in much more? Because that can't really be done. So it looks like I have the wrong screws maybe, guys. Which I'm shocked at, because I bought these ones especially. Oh, actually, hang on. Put it in upside down. Wait a sec. Does it go in? No. Still doesn't go in, even though I had it in upside down the first time round, I think. No. It does not go in, unfortunately, guys. They are not countersunk enough. And they are not really countersunk at all, really, are they? Okay, I'll pause the camera, have a little look, see what's going on, and I'll get back to you in a second. So guys, I am back, and check this out. Let's get these drives slid in. Now, what did I do? Well, I looked around for screws that may fit, and I had absolutely nothing, and I thought, this is annoying because the screw cannot penetrate the exterior of the drive sled at all. But then I looked at the device itself, and I thought, hang on a sec, on the rack mounts there are very handy screws, exactly how I'd want them. And here they are, perfect, absolutely perfect. Now of course, there are 4 screws in each rack here, so that gives me 8 screws total, so 2 screws per drive. But these drives aren't going anywhere because they're a tight fit in the drive sled itself. They are really not going anywhere. So of course, I then tried these screws in the sides. They fit fine, and they will be ideal for the rack mount, and they're actually a little bit bigger, so I feel more confident about racking this up with the bigger screws. They must have sent me the wrong screws, because I definitely ordered proper flat ones like that, but whatever. As you can see, it works fine. I'm not worried about having 2 screws per drive. Of course I'd like to have all the screws, that would be great, but you know, you can't have everything in this world, and I managed the best with what I've got. So the weight of this, man, the weight of this has now increased considerably, but what I want to do is I've decided I'm going to boot it up and configure it in this video. Stuff it, guys. I'm going to get some power over here, and we're going to turn this thing on, see what it does. So I've got the kettle lead connected, guys. Let's see what it does on power up. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. So, that is not quiet, but maybe it quietens down after it's booted up. As you guys can probably see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 blue LEDs above the drives. All the drives are spun up, and if I turn the unit around carefully, we'll be able to see the display lit up blue. There it is, great. So that's not as quiet as I thought it was going to be, guys, but we will take a look anyway to see what's going on. Now, can you guys see the display? That is the question. I'll try and zoom in. So there it is, guys. At the moment, it says, okay, RAID 5 4 drive, initialize or cancel. So it can detect that it's got new drives in there. If I press init, then I assume that initializing RAID 5 active. Okay, that is that. That is us set up, I believe, guys. Wow, cool. So guys, I know this isn't a perfect view, and it's definitely not a perfect setup, but one thing that it is very cool. This looks badass. I really love the way it looks. Now that it's under the desk, it's not as loud, but it definitely still is really loud, so I cannot wait to get it in a cabinet out of the way of the desk. Plan is to put a server cabinet somewhere completely different, because, you know, this stuff is going all the time. I want to put it in its own dedicated space. There is lots more for me to do in terms of this stuff, guys. This is in its very early stages. I need to get my hands on some decent networking gear in terms of router and modem. This needs to go, but for now everything is looking pretty damn solid. I will also be replacing my switch, guys, because 8 ports is not going to be enough. With all the plans that I have, 8 ports is not going to be enough, and I want to get a rack mount one anyway, and I will be getting a UPS, so it's all very exciting. One really cool thing about my desk is it supports 19-inch. This is exactly 19 inches, so I've been able to slot this in. It's a little long, but it wouldn't have gone back any further anyway because of this rack here. I could have taken it off, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference. As you guys can see, I've had to ditch the Mac Mini power supplies. They have been on the shelf, but I've now put them on the windowsill behind, which is absolutely fine for now. And I've got my 2 terabyte here. This will be all. This is full at the moment, guys. This is full of all. When I used to use Final Cut 7 before I switched to Final Cut 10, this is where all of my project files are, and all of the scratch media, all of the original full quality media from basically 2011 until 2013. So that's full, 2 terabytes worth. That will be archived onto a green drive very soon to be safely stored away so that I can free up that drive for other things. But yeah, here we have, as you guys can see, we have it up and running, and I've actually got screen sharing turned on at the moment, and if I just move the camera up to the display, you guys will be able to see that it is fully seen by the Mac, which is awesome. By the way, I've got this on a FireWire daisy chain at the moment. 400 to 800 into this, 800 to 800 into this. So yeah, that's not too shabby. So as you may or may not be able to see, we are fully detected. Now I do have some exposure issues with filming my displays, but this is disk utility on my Mac Mini server on Neptune, on the Intel one, which is where I will be hosting this. Even when I get the G4 up and running properly, I will be hosting from this one. So here we have it, 900.05 gigabyte. Pro Avio, I think you call that, Pro Avio, whatever. That is the make, it's the studio rack, you know, S4FR, which is cool. So all of the RAID, as you can tell, is handled totally externally via the hardware, which is great. So I'm going to create one partition. It's going to be, you know, the full capacity, and it's going to be partitioned for this Mac, of course, because all of my drives are Mac OS X Extended journaled, and then you can still access them through Windows PCs with file sharing. That's the beauty of it. I've got nothing formatted, anything other than this. This is what was actually slowing me down, changing to a different way of hosting my server. I'm not going to say that I'm going to use Mac Minis for the rest of my life. I am still very interested in building a free NAS box, but that is definitely later to come when I'm more familiar with all this kind of thing. So for now, because this is only a temporary raid, I'm going to call it Monster Raid, just as a little bit of a fun name, and we're going to hit apply. Are we going to hit partition? So I should be able to hear the drives actually doing something in a minute, but maybe not. You know, the system controller on the enclosure itself, it's intelligent, so it will handle all of its own duties. But I can hear that they're spun up, which is great. And the reason that I don't have 1.25 terabytes, guys, is because I've got a OneDrive failsafe with RAID 5. Which is exactly how the enclosure works. You cannot choose your RAID type. That is one downside with this Studio Rack thing. You cannot choose your RAID type, but that doesn't matter because I'd choose a RAID 5 anyway. RAID 6 would be cool, but it's better to use more disks, I believe, for RAID 6 to begin with. And you know, 3 times the read speed over a standard drive with RAID 5 is great for me. Write speed is not that important. So this is partitioning, as you guys can see. There it is, Monster Raid. We've got our RAID on the desktop, and what I'm going to do is connect to it through my Mac Pro and try and copy some kind of file to it. So I'm going to copy like a video file to it or something. So let's say I just take a video file then, random video file, and we'll take one of my Final Cut exports. We'll actually take the vlog that I did the other day. First May vlog. Now, interesting fact about my videos, guys, if you don't know, I kind of title them incorrectly. Until I get to YouTube, I never know what I'm going to call them. So sometimes, normally the titles on the files themselves are actually really crap. So I'm going to copy that. I'm actually going to drag it from here into Monster Raid, drop it in, and we'll be able to see the transfer rate. And check that out, guys. Awesome. We're talking around 25 megabytes a second over gigabit Ethernet through this little Mac Mini, which is really cool. Yeah, sustained 26 megabytes. As you guys can see, this is writing speed as well, which is great. And I've just looked on the front of the unit, guys. The blue LEDs remain lit, but the green LEDs go to a flickering orange when there's drive activity, which is really cool. So I'm impressed with this speed. As you guys can see, it's not really fluctuating much at all. It's 26.5 megabytes a second, which is not bad at all for writing. Bearing in mind, guys, we are writing over a simple gigabit network through my gigabit switch, of course, through a very old Mac Mini, 2007 Mac Mini, so an 8-year-old computer, onto this very old RAID array with these very old drives in it. So guys, I am really pleased with this performance so far. It's actually pretty damn good. We will copy the same video file straight to the Mac Mini in a second. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to cancel this because we can see the sustained speeds. I'm going to cancel that. And what I'm going to do is if I just clear that so it becomes easier for us to see. What I am going to do, guys, is copy the same file, to the Mac Mini desktop to see what kind of speeds we get on the Mac Mini desktop. So if I drop it there, the Mac Mini has a 5400 RPM drive in it, laptop drive. As you can see, it's pretty much double the performance, so around 46 megabytes a second. So yeah, you get twice as quick transfer, but that's not so bad, as you guys can tell. I'm actually really pleased with that performance because the bottleneck may indeed be... It's hard to know what the bottleneck is, but probably if I put faster drives in the RAID enclosure, that will be improved for me. Writing-wise, I am pleased that we have anything over 20 megabytes a second is absolutely fine for me. You know, 20 it's rare that you'll copy a file as big as 5.45 gigabytes in one chunk, I guess. You know, most of my other videos are smaller, you know, 2.05, 2.24. It's just because that vlog was really long. As you guys can see there, around 20 minutes. The vlog was, you know, 45 minutes. So there we have it. There is the Monster Raid.
and we can do whatever we want with it. We can, you know, copy things and watch things and load things. That is now fully networked. And just to show you, if I go to Neptune on the sidebar here, it'll say that it's connecting, because I don't normally use screen sharing to transfer files. So if we close that for a second, you can see that Monster Raid is simply here, and I can actually have a shortcut to Monster Raid on my desktop. It'll actually do it on its own, sorry guys. Apologies, there we have it, Monster Raid right on the desktop. So I have now instant access to my 900 gigabyte RAID 5 RAID array right from any machine on the network, which is brilliant. But not without the use of my password, obviously, all password protected. So this is file sharing and networking in probably one of its simplest forms, but I'm still really loving it. It's absolutely great. I haven't even properly used it yet, but what I'm going to do is just use it for a little bit and see how it goes. So guys, this has been my video on this awesome bit of kit. I've been stumbling over my words quite a bit in this video because I'm a mixture of sort of really excited and I'm having one of those days where I'm rushing around quite a bit. But I definitely wanted to show you this today. I had another video planned for today, but when I saw that the hard drives and this unit had been delivered on the same day, I really wanted to crack them open and share it with you guys. So far, so good. Let me just re-explain a couple of things just in case anyone missed them. The drive setup. At the moment, as you guys know, I've got 4 300 gigabyte second-hand Western Digital Caviar SE drives in this enclosure. And that won't be for long. Well, it'll be for a little while. I've basically got them in there to test this out. You know, do I like using a FireWire RAID 5 setup with my Mac Mini? Is it quick enough? Is it easy enough? Is it convenient for me to use? I wanted to answer all of these questions before I went out and spent a load of money on brand new drives. But rest assured that I really do want to stick in 4 3TB Caviar Reds, or maybe 4 2TB. It depends what my budget is doing at the time. So I'm not going to put any files on here, even though there is a one drive failure. You know, you're safe. You don't lose any data if one drive fails. It's quite likely that 2 drives could fail at the same time, so I'm not going to put anything drastically important on this server. All I'm going to do is a couple of really big transfers overnight and stuff, see how well it sustains read and writes, see if my Mac Mini can cope with it, maybe host a couple of YouTube videos off of it to upload, to see what it's like if I host my video library off of it for upload and stuff like that. And do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that, and basically fiddle around and see if I like it. Once I like it and I get a little bit of spare cash, there's a couple of things that I want to buy first, but then I can splash out on 4 awesome drives for it and get ourselves up and running. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to buy first, whether I'm going to buy the cabinet and the other rack mount gear before buying the drives or after. I do need storage, so buying the drives first would make sense. But if I can scrape by with buying a couple of 2TB green drives to archive some data off onto, I should be in the money and pretty much winning with all of my situations that are in place and all of my hard drives that I have at the moment. So what I'm thinking is I could save up for the cabinet, the switch, the UPS, the router, the modem and the drives all at the same time to go along with this stuff and just build the awesome server setup all at the same time in the rack mount cabinet, which would be pretty cool, I think. It's not going to be an overkill rack, it's only going to be a 10U rack because Mac Minis are quite small, as you guys can see, and I'll only have this, which is 1U, a 1U gigabit switch, a 2U UPS, that's 4U, and then the rest is reserved for, you know, ventilation between certain items, obviously a patch panel, or like a patch panel, like a fluff panel I call them. It's where you can run all the Ethernet leads out of a panel on the server and into the gigabit switch. And also I'll need a couple of rack mount shelves to put the Mac Minis and stuff on. And by the time that's done, I will be pretty full up in the rack, but 10U is enough. So, before I reveal any more of my plans and splurt out any more interesting information about my future plans, I'm going to end this video here because I am done with everything that I want to say about this product. Expect future videos on this. It's a very rare piece of kit. So glad I managed to pick it up on eBay. Yes, it was expensive, but I think it's going to be worth it. So, thank you again for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.